Hello there, viewers. I'm the Knight of Arcane. Sorry about the small hiatus I had due to work and life stuff, but we're finally back, and today we got a fun video. With the release of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, people have been either making spider-sonas or turning things into Spider-Men / Spider-Women, like Popcross Studios has been doing with Spider-Man villains. So, I decided to turn Ben 10 aliens into Spider-Men. Little bit of irony here though. I forgot that Yuri Lowenthal, you know, the voice of Ben 10 in Alien Force and Omniverse, also voices Spider-Man in the PS4 game. Until I was halfway through the first drawing. A bit of a happy coincidence. Also did the first two before I saw the new movie, and now I have. And suggest checking it out. But anyways, let's check out our alien Spider-Men, shall we? The Spider-Verse. The universal and extra-dimensional webs that connect universes together. All intertwined with the destiny and lives of the web-slinging, wall-crawling, most of the time smart-mouthed, superhero that usually goes by the name Spider-Man. Sometimes there's little to no difference between them. Sometimes there's huge differences between them, with different powers and abilities, making some very unique Spider-Men out in the Spider-Verse. David Albright originally started out living outside New York City, with the dream to become a famous baseball player, and maybe even join the Yankees. He became a star pitcher and had pretty high grades, which allowed him to attend Midtown High, where he would meet and become friends with Peter Parker, aka the Spider-Man. The two somehow became good friends, with Peter helping David in science and David helping to stick up for Peter from bullies. However, one day, David's life would change forever. The villain Dr. Doom made a secret deal with Oscorp, the company that made the radioactive spider that bit Peter and gave him his powers, to create new spiders with the same abilities as the original, but to also add stolen DNA from the tyrannical ruler's main adversaries, the superhero team, the Fantastic Four, to be used to make new superpowered soldiers to be used against the enemies of both Doom and Oscorp CEO, Norman Osborn, aka the Green Goblin. One of these spiders, though, one with the DNA of the Human Torch, was able to escape its containment and hitch a ride in the bag of Norman's son, Harry, and was taken with the boy to Midtown High. It escaped Harry's bag and found its way to the locker room, where David was getting ready for baseball practice. The spider would then bite David, who crushed it right after. As he made his way to practice, David started to feel hot, like he had a fever, which didn't help as his senses started to overwhelm him, and he started to sweat, though he didn't notice how the sweat quickly evaporated off him. At practice, he couldn't throw the ball straight, and his body was sluggish, but he kept pushing himself. This wouldn't go well, as when he finally had a perfect throw, the ball caught fire. David started to panic, and as he did, his body would light up like the Human Torch, and he started to set fire to the field with fire blasts and fire webbing he shot out. Everyone else started to panic and run, before Spider-Man showed up. He tried to calm David down, but he kept panicking. Spider-Man was able to slow him down with webs, even as he burned through them every time they stuck him down. But he slowed down more and more. Once David was tired out and reverted back to normal, Peter quickly took his friend to the Baxter building. Noticing the similarities between David's abilities and his fellow superhero. After being looked over by Mr. Fantastic, David was a bit depressed, thinking his life was over, that he was a monster. But after a talk with the Thing and a demasked Peter, they gave him hope. With some help from the two heroes, plus some teachings from the Human Torch, David was able to control his powers and decided to help his friend in protecting the streets of New York, and looking into these other individuals with spider powers that were also similar to the Fantastic Four's powers. David Albright became the fireweb shooter, Spider Blast. Not all Spider-Men start out with the best of lives, or as law-abiding citizens. Take Peter Sidman, who grew up as a thief, first pickpocketing for his Uncle Ben, but then doing robberies for his Aunt May. While there are some similarities here between the Parkers and the Sidmans, some would say they're this universe's equivalent to the Parkers, but the Sidmans were a crime family, subservient to New York's mobster, the Kingpin. Ben and May ran the family together until Ben died in a job gone wrong, and they raised Peter to be a better thief than them both. Peter loved his life and the natural talent he had with pickpocketing, sleight of hand, and stealth, easily able to case a joint and steal his prize without any slip-ups. He also loved to climb, even as a child, many comparing him to a monkey. The first person who made the comparison was a young Gwen Stacy in elementary school, which Peter replied by acting like a monkey in a goofy manner. When the school bullies of Flash Thompson and Eddie Brock tried to mock him about this, Peter took it in stride. He didn't care. He was having fun and didn't care what they thought. Years would pass and he and Gwen would stay friends, though there was definitely something there between the two, even if neither would admit it. During this time, however, Peter was still stealing for his aunt and their crime family. He even started to go by the name of Night Monkey while on these missions. But one night, Peter was sent on a mission from Kingpin himself. See, Peter's father, Richard Sidman, was a scientist working for Fisk to create powerful superhumans for him while also acting as a spy for him in Stark Industries. While working for Stark, he created formulas for spiders mixed with the DNA of other animals, hoping to give Fisk's men the strength of both creatures. However, Richard and his wife were killed by rival crime family, the Watsons, secretly hired by Oscorp to get a leg up on Stark. With his death, Richard's research was locked away, until Tony Stark found it one day and decided to have it finished, seeing the potential of the project for a big military contract, and soon had 7 spiders ready to unveil for profit. When Kingpin heard of this from another spy, he was angry. The research and spiders were his, so he decided he needed someone to steal the completed research and spiders for him. Knowing how good Peter was, Fisk had the boy brought in and told him what he had to do. With no funny business, or he and his whole family were dead. Peter wasn't intimidated. Fisk was just like his bullies to him. But he took the job and had no problem breaking into Stark Labs, due to the tech he had stolen and repurposed over the years to help with his crimes. He got the research and the spiders, but just as he was getting the last spider, it rushed out of its tank and across the room. Peter had to give chase to it and was able to catch it, but when he opened his hands to check on it, the spider leapt on his face. He panicked and flailed around, breaking some equipment and jars of normal spiders in the process, before he was able to slap the spider on his face. Not before the spider was able to bite him, though. Fearing he'd be discovered soon by security, he took one of the normal spiders and put it in the containment jar he was supposed to put the other spider in, and got out. After delivering the research and the spiders, Peter was heading home, stumbling a bit, when he ran into Gwen, who grew worried as Peter couldn't stand straight, and almost collapsed on her. They were close to her apartment, so she took him back to her place to rest up for the night. However, Peter was having a unique reaction to the spider bite. During the night, Peter would grow small extra eyes, an extra pair of arms, and a furry tail would grow out of his back, along with patches of fur growing on his body. The spider that bit Peter also had monkey DNA in it, and this mutation caused quite a scare in the morning for Peter and Gwen. However, Kingpin had the spiders used right away that night, having 6 unique part spider, part other creature superhumans. But when morning came and the 7th subject was still normal, he knew Peter either messed up or double-crossed him. Peter and Gwen quickly figured out a way to hide all the extra parts he now had and went back to his aunt's house, only to find the place ransacked, dead bodies of the other members of the crime family torn to shreds, with a note to meet at the docks to get his Aunt May. When Peter got there, it was too late. Aunt May was dead. He didn't have time to mourn as Fisk's mutant spider-humans attacked him. Thankfully, none of them were expecting him to have any powers, and he was able to escape, but barely. Kingpin would falsify all the evidence and make it look like Peter killed his aunt, putting Peter on the run, with only Gwen knowing the truth. Peter decided he'd get even with Fisk, and use his new abilities to stop Kingpin and to take his operation down. He didn't try to become a superhero, but his conscience got the better of him every time trouble happened nearby, and soon New York was talking about their new wisecracking superhero, Spider-Monkey. Now, Bradley Parker, our next Spider-Man, or as he's called in his universe, Spider-Ray, is a thrill seeker, an adrenaline junkie, and overall chill dude. This Peter grew up with parents that traveled the world in a plane his father, D. Parker, flew. However, a freak storm would cause the plane to crash and leave Bradley as the only survivor. He would move in with his grandpa, Max Parker, in New York, and instead of being afraid of heights and crashing, the disaster actually gave Bradley his thrill-seeking addiction, climbing and free jumping off buildings, and through some luck, barely getting hurt, though occasionally broke a few bones. Bradley gained the mentality of living life to the fullest, even if doing something dangerous, though he had his friend Julie to pull him away from some too dangerous stunts. One day though, while on a school trip to Alchemix Labs, one spider made its escape, gliding through the labs until landing on Bradley, hiding on the back of his neck, showing remarkable intelligence in finding a way to escape the labs. The spider only had a small hiccup when some jocks tried to hit on Julie in the lobby, and Bradley got between them to help his friend out. The jock sucker punched Bradley, causing the boy to fall down and the spider to accidentally bite him. Bradley didn't notice the bite until later. The sting of the punch had his main attention, and at that moment the spider made its escape. It wasn't until the nurse was looking over him that the bite was noticed, and determined to be a spider bite, but was reassured it came from a non-deadly spider. However, the spider did cause changes to the boy, as small bits of bone and muscle expanded from his arms, and forming thin, web-like membranes over them. Bradley woke up to see wing-like appendages sticking out of his body, and freaked out, accidentally breaking the wall with his enhanced strength, and activating another power he now had, a green laser that came out of his eyes. He quickly got everything under control, and became curious on what all he could do. After fixing the damage he caused to the best of his ability, and using a red ski mask he had, and some other old outfits, Bradley made himself a disguise to hide his identity as he decided to see what all he could do. He quickly figured his abilities out, and that he could even fly with his wings, though taking off with them was a bit of a challenge, finding it easier to launch himself up with webs before using them to keep himself in the air or to glide. While he was testing everything out, he found himself above a hostage situation taking place on the edge of a building. He watched as the hostage tried to break free from the criminal's grasp as the police closed in, and was horrified when the criminal lost their grip, and the hostage started to fall. Without wasting any time, Bradley swooped down and grabbed her, using his webs to slow their fall and lower them both down. He flew off after setting her down, and after seeing himself on the news later that night, decided to become a superhero. Making a better suit for the altitudes he'd be at, Bradley took to the skies of New York to help protect the city, and somehow being compared to stingrays when he flies, gained the name Spider-Ray. Just a quick reminder, I have a Patreon set up. It's one of the best ways to help support the channel directly. As a patron, you get access to weekly art polls, early access to content, and monthly art rewards starting with character headshots. Along with that, the more patrons we get, the closer we get to some of our Patreon goals, such as Pokemon as Space Marines, and Ben 10 aliens as Xenomorphs. So, if you can and want to see these videos happen, head over to our Patreon to become a patron today, starting at $3 a month. Every little bit helps. Anyways, let's get back to the video. Now, this story actually starts a long time ago, in the 1200s BCE. Masika was born in ancient Egypt, and at a young age, was given to the priestesses of Neith. This group of priestesses were tasked by the goddess to guard sacred treasures and weapons used by the gods and heroes of old, to keep from the hands of those that would bring chaos and death to the world. Masika enjoyed her peaceful life at the temple, and was trained to protect the chambers below with her life. One day, the temple was attacked by a daughter of the mutant known in the present day as Apocalypse, named Serhiti. Exiled by her father and siblings, she planned to acquire the powers of the gods before returning and slaying her father, and then proceed to take over the world like he planned. Her small army was tough, but the priestesses fought back, wiping out her men, but couldn't stop her as she took a drink from the venom of Serket, the scorpion goddess. Due to the godly nature of the venom and her own mutant DNA, and maybe even a curse from Serket herself, Serhiti was mutated into a half-human, half-scorpion being of madness and fury. She tore through the priestesses, and before she could kill the head priestess, Masika used another ancient object to trap Serhiti inside it, but was poisoned by the scorpion girl in the process. At that moment, the head priestess knew Serhiti would break free, and feared more dangers from this temple would escape, and that the world needed a champion to face these dangers when it comes. Using a weave left by Neith herself, and a mix of linen and magical spider silk, she wove a special wrap to preserve a hero in, so they can face the scorpion when she rises again. And who better than the young priestess that showed bravery in the face of this monster? Wrapped in this spider linen and dressed in a mask and other bits of clothing blessed by the gods, Masika was put to sleep by the priestess, giving her a magical concoction made from the venom of multiple spiders and other herbs, and put in a sarcophagus to rest until called for. The priestess then called on the gods to hide the temple in the sands, and to let her soul keep the temple sealed for as long as her will lasts. And so the temple was buried and lost to time. However, starting in the 1900s, parts of the temple were found and excavated, slowly over time revealing more and more of the secrets hidden, and sent out in the world, taking many years to reveal what they can do. Even the sarcophagus of Masika was found and sent to New York. In the present day, the scorpion was finally able to break free, and at that same time, Masika was awakened. In a strange new world with powers and abilities she became able to use mainly through the spider raps. Masika was able to snare Sarahiti once. Now Spider Snare will have to do it again to catch the scorpion. And that was Ben 10 Aliens as Spidermen, and one Spider-Woman. I love how they came out, though extremely proud of Spider Monkey and Spider Snare, and had fun making these four, and probably will do more of these in the future. But what do you think of them? Let me know in the comments your thoughts, along with other Ben 10 aliens I should turn into Spider-Men and women, and other things I should turn into Spider-Men, or should do with both Ben 10 and Spider-Man. I have quite a few Ben 10 related videos that might interest you, so check them out, along with some superhero related ones too, and anything else that might pique your interest. But if you liked what you saw, leave a like, and subscribe to join our growing little Arcane town to be notified when future videos are released. We're getting really close to our 500 sub goal and hope to reach it soon, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Later!